The message came through every radio, every satellite, every communications array that humanity had pointed toward the stars. It was Tuesday morning when the signal started, and by Tuesday afternoon, every government on Earth knew that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his third cup of coffee on the bridge of the ESS Valiant when the first transmission came through. He was a tall man with tired eyes and gray streaking through his dark hair. He had spent 20 years in Earth's new space fleet, most of it patrolling the outer colonies and dealing with pirates. Nothing in his career had prepared him for this moment. The voice that came through the speakers was strange, layered with dozens of different tones all speaking at once. It hurt to listen to at first, like nails on a chalkboard mixed with beautiful music. Then the translation software kicked in, and the words became clear. This is the Galactic Council of Peaceful Species. We are transmitting on all frequencies in hope that someone will hear us. We are dying. Our worlds are being consumed. We have searched the nearby star systems for species who might help us, and we have found you. Humanity of Earth. We have studied your broadcasts, your history, your records. We know what you are. We know what you have done to each other. We are afraid of you, but we are more afraid of extinction. Please, we need warriors. We need killers. We need those who understand violence. Help us, the transmission repeated, over and over. The same desperate plea in 73 different Earth languages. Jake set down his coffee cup with a hand that shook slightly. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant, stood beside him, staring at the communications console like it might bite her. Lisa was younger than Jake. Barely 30, with red hair pulled back in a tight bun and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. She had been top of her class at the academy, brilliant with both strategy and people. Right now, she looked as stunned as Jake felt.
Yes, sir.
This is real, right? She asked quietly. This is not some elaborate hoax. Jake shook his head. The signal is coming from outside our solar system, way outside. And the power required to broadcast this strongly across this much space? No one on Earth has that technology. So aliens are real, and they are asking us for help, because they think we are good at killing. Lisa's voice was flat, carefully controlled. That about sums it up, yes. The bridge crew had gone silent, everyone listening to the transmission repeat. Jake could see the mixture of emotions on their faces. Excitement at first contact. Fear of the unknown. And something else, something darker. Pride, maybe? Or shame. The aliens had looked at humanity's bloody history and decided that humans were exactly violent enough to solve their problem. Jake pulled up the historical database on his console. He knew what was in there. Everyone did. Humanity had spent 10,000 years killing each other with increasing efficiency. Wars over land, resources, religion, ideology. The death toll was staggering. World War I, World War II, the resource wars, the nuclear exchange of 2089 that nearly ended everything. Then came the unification in 2142, when humanity finally got its act together. They built a single world government, ended war between nations, and turned their efforts toward the stars instead of toward each other. That was 80 years ago now. 3 generations of peace. 3 generations of trying to be better than their ancestors, and now the galaxy was asking them to remember how to be monsters again. Give me a line to Earth Command, Jake said. They need to know about this immediately. By that evening, every news channel on Earth was broadcasting the message. People gathered in streets and homes, watching the translation scroll across their screens, listening to that alien voice begging for help. The debate started immediately. Some people said humanity should ignore the message. They had worked too hard to leave violence behind. Others said this was different. This was not war between humans. This was helping innocent aliens survive. Still others worried it was a trap. The aliens were trying to lure humanity into some kind of ambush. The governments met in emergency sessions. The military began pulling up old tactical manuals that had been gathering digital dust for decades. And on the ESS Valiant, Jake Morrison received new orders. You are to proceed to the coordinates provided in the alien transmission, Admiral Henry Cross told him over the video link. Cross was an old man, one of the last who had served in the resource wars before the unification. His face was weathered and hard, but his eyes were kind. You will make first contact with this Galactic Council. You will assess the situation, and if their story checks out, you will offer Earth's assistance. And if it is a trap? Jake asked. Then you fight your way out and come home. But Jake, I do not think this is a trap. I listened to that message 100 times. That is real fear. Real desperation. They are telling the truth. They said they studied our history. They know what we did to each other. Cross nodded slowly. Yes, they know we are dangerous. And they are still asking for help. That tells me they have no other options left. The S-Valiant left Earth orbit 2 days later, accompanied by 11 other warships. It was the largest military fleet humanity had assembled since the unification. The ships were angular and brutal-looking, built for function over beauty. Railguns, missile tubes, armor plating. Tools of war that humanity had hoped never to use again. Jake stood on the bridge watching Earth shrink behind them, a blue marble of oceans and clouds and billions of people trying to live peaceful lives. He wondered what those people thought of this mission. Were they proud? Ashamed? Afraid? Lisa came to stand beside him. Second thoughts, sir? Third and fourth thoughts, too, Jake admitted. We spent 80 years becoming civilized. Now we are flying towards some alien species to offer our services as professional killers. We are flying toward alien species to help them survive, Lisa corrected gently. There is a difference. Is there? The aliens do not think so. They specifically asked for warriors. For people who understand violence. They do not want our diplomats or our scientists. They want our soldiers. Lisa was quiet for a moment, then said, My grandfather fought in the resource wars. He told me once that violence is not evil by itself. It is just a tool. What matters is why you use it and what you do with it. He used violence to protect people who could not protect themselves. There is honor in that. Jake thought about that. He had joined the military to protect the outer colonies from pirates and raiders. He had used violence, yes, but always in service of keeping people safe. Maybe this was not so different. The journey to the coordinates took 3 weeks at maximum speed. 3 weeks of preparation and training. The crew reviewed combat tactics that had not been used in living memory. They ran simulations. They practiced formations. They remembered how to be warriors. Commander Kyle Bennett ran most of the tactical drills. He was a stocky man with a scarred face from a shuttle accident years ago. He rarely smiled, but he was brilliant at strategy. He could look at a battlefield and see patterns that others missed. The key to human warfare has always been adaptability, he told the crew during one briefing. We are not the strongest species on Earth. We are not the fastest. But we are clever. We use tools. We work together. We change our tactics when something is not working. That is what made us apex predators on our planet. You think that will work against alien threats? One of the younger officers asked. Kyle shrugged. No idea. But it is what we have got. We are humans. We evolved on a death world where everything was trying to kill us. We survived because we learned to kill back better than anything else. Now, let us hope that is enough. When they finally arrived at the coordinates, Jake expected to see alien ships, space stations, something obviously artificial. Instead, they found a massive structure orbiting a binary star system. It looked like crystal and light had been woven together, impossibly delicate, yet clearly functional. It was beautiful in a way that human architecture had never achieved. That is the council station, Lisa said, reading the scans. I am picking up multiple life signs. Dozens of different biological signatures. Sir, there are at least 15 different alien species on that station. Jake took a deep breath. This was it. First contact. The moment that would change humanity's place in the universe forever. Open a channel, he ordered. Let them know we received their message. Tell them Earth has sent help. In the back of his mind, a small voice whispered the truth that no one wanted to say out loud. Earth had not sent help. Earth had sent its monsters. The galaxy had asked for killers. Humanity had answered. Now they would find out if that was salvation or something much worse. The docking procedure took 2 hours. The council station had to adjust its airlock to fit human ships, which apparently used different standards than the rest of the galaxy. Jake Morrison watched through the view screen as robotic arms extended from the crystalline structure, carefully connecting to the ESS Valiant's hull. Air pressure is equalized, Lisa Grant reported. Atmosphere is breathable for humans. Temperature is comfortable. They really did their homework on us, they said. They studied our broadcasts, Jake reminded her. They probably know more about us than we know about them. Ambassador Claire Hughes arrived on the bridge wearing a formal diplomatic uniform. She was a woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair and the kind of face that had seen too much but refused to give up. She had been a general during the last years before unification, then retrained as a diplomat when the wars ended. She understood both worlds. "Ready, Captain?" she asked. Jake nodded. "As ready as we will ever be." "You are sure you want me coming along?" "This is supposed to be a diplomatic meeting. The council asked for warriors, not diplomats," Claire said bluntly. "They need to see what they are getting. Besides, you have a good head on your shoulders. I might need your input." They assembled the delegation in the airlock. Claire and Jake from the Valiant, Commander Kyle Bennett from the ESS Defender, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant as military advisor, and 6 Marines in full combat gear just in case things went wrong. The inner airlock door opened, and they stepped into the council station. The first thing Jake noticed was the light. Everything seemed to glow softly, like the walls themselves were alive. The corridor was wide and curved gently upward, and through transparent sections, he could see the binary stars beyond. 2 suns orbiting each other in an eternal dance. The second thing he noticed was the welcoming committee. There were 7 aliens waiting for them, and not one looked like anything from Earth's science fiction movies. The first was floating in midair, its body made of what looked like jellyfish tissue that pulsed with blue and green light. The second was a walking crystal formation, roughly humanoid, but faceted like a diamond. The third looked like a giant praying mantis, but with 6 arms instead of 2. The others were equally strange. The floating one drifted forward, its lights pulsing in a pattern that might have been communication. A small device on its body spoke in accented but clear English. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am High Coordinator the Sil of the Arzani people. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you for answering our call." Claire stepped forward and bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that translated across cultures. "High Coordinator, I am Ambassador Claire Hughes. This is Captain Jake Morrison, Commander Kyle Bennett, and Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant. Earth received your message, and we have come to help." The Sil's lights flickered in what might have been relief. "Please, follow us to the council chamber. The other representatives are eager to meet you." They walked through corridors that seemed to shift and change around them, the walls adjusting their shape to accommodate the human delegation. Jake kept one hand near his sidearm, not threatening, but ready. "Old habits. Your station is remarkable," Claire said as they walked. "I have never seen architecture like this. It is grown, not built," the crystal alien said, its voice like wind chimes. "The Velthes, my people, shape crystal with harmonic resonance. We sing the station into existence. How long did it take?" Lisa asked, genuinely curious. 300 of your years for the initial structure. We have been expanding it ever since." Jake tried to wrap his mind around that. 300 years on a single construction project. Humanity had gone from horse-drawn carriages to starships in less time. The council chamber was enormous. Circular room with a domed ceiling that showed the stars beyond. Seating areas were arranged in concentric circles, each designed for different alien physiologies. Some had chairs, some had pools of liquid, some had what looked like magnetic suspension fields, and all of them were occupied. Jake counted representatives from at least 20 different species, all turning to watch the humans enter. "I present to you," the Sil announced, his translator broadcasting to the entire chamber, "the delegation from Earth. The humans have answered our call. The reaction was immediate. Some aliens leaned forward with obvious interest. Others pulled back, their body language speaking of fear despite the differences in biology. One small creature that looked like a floating plant actually hid behind its podium. Claire raised her hands in a peaceful gesture. Members of the council, thank you for inviting us here. We understand you are facing a threat that has destroyed several of your worlds. We want to hear your story. We want to understand what you are fighting, and then we will decide together how Earth can help. A large insectoid alien stood up, its mandibles clicking. The translator rendered it as speech. You say decide together, but your message said Earth accepts. You have already decided, have you not? Kyle Bennett spoke up before Claire could answer. We decided to come and listen. We have not decided anything else yet. We do not fight blind. Wise, another alien said, this one resembling a bird with 4 wings. But we have little time for wisdom. The Devourers could arrive at any moment. Tell us about them, Jake said. What are we dealing with? The Sill's lights dimmed, a clear sign of distress. They appeared 6 of your years ago. A fleet of ships, massive and efficient. We attempted first contact as we always do with new species. They did not respond. They simply began mining our outer colonies, stripping the planets down to bedrock. We sent diplomats, the Crystal Velthes continued. They were ignored. We sent gifts, offers of trade, anything to open communication. Nothing worked. The Devourers are not a species. They are a machine intelligence, and they have only one purpose: consume, process, expand. We tried to stop them, another alien said, a small furry creature that reminded Jake of an otter. We have shields, defensive technology, but we have no weapons. We have not needed them for 600 years. Claire frowned. No weapons at all? No military? We evolved past such things, the Sill said, and there was pride in his tone despite the situation. The council was formed to ensure peace through cooperation. We believe that any species that reached the stars would have evolved beyond violence. Then you met humans and realized that was not true, Kyle said flatly. Uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. Finally, Dezel's lights pulsed in what the translator called embarrassment. Yes, when we detected your planet and began studying your broadcasts, we were horrified. Your history is written in blood. Your species has committed terrible acts against itself. Wars, genocides, environmental destruction. We almost did not contact you because we feared you might be as dangerous as the Devourers. But you contacted us anyway, Lisa said. Because we are dying, the bird-like alien said bluntly. 4 of our homeworlds are gone. Billions of our people dead. The Devourers are learning from each encounter, adapting their tactics. Soon they will be unstoppable. We had a choice. Die with our principles intact, or seek help from a species that understands violence. Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. This was what they had feared. The council did not see humans as potential allies. They saw them as barely controlled weapons, dangerous but useful. You are afraid of us, he said quietly.
Yes.
Desil admitted. We are terrified of you, but we are more terrified of extinction. Claire took a deep breath, and Jake could see her choosing her words carefully. Hi, Coordinator. Members of the Council, I need you to understand something. Yes, humanity has a violent past. Yes, we have done terrible things. But we have also spent the last 80 years building a peaceful civilization. We ended war on Earth. We chose cooperation over conflict. We are not the monsters you think we are, but you can be, a new voice said. An alien Jake had not noticed before stepped forward. It was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. That is what we need. We need you to be the monsters that stop the Devourers. That is not how this works, Kyle said, his voice hard. You cannot just flip a switch and make us violent. We are people, not weapons you can point at your enemies. Then what good are you? The shimmering alien demanded. You have warships. You have weapons technology. Your captain carries a gun on his hip even now in a peaceful station. You are warriors whether you admit it or not. Jake's hand had indeed drifted to his sidearm. He forced himself to move it away. You are right. We are warriors. But we are also human. We fight for reasons, not just because someone asks us to. Ash, what reasons do you need? The bird alien asked. Billions of innocent lives. Entire civilizations facing extinction. Is that not enough? It is enough, Claire said firmly. But you need to understand what you are asking for. War is not clean. It is not noble. People die. Not just the enemy. Our people. Your people. Worlds get damaged. Stations like this one might be destroyed. Are you ready for that? The chamber fell silent. Jake could see the aliens processing this, struggling with concepts they had not dealt with in centuries. Finally, Dessel spoke. Show us. Show us what human warfare looks like. Let us see what we are agreeing to. Kyle pulled out a datapad and connected it to the council's systems. These are historical records from Earth. This is what war looks like when humans fight each other. The war room on the council station was nothing like what Jake Morrison expected. There were no tactical displays, no strategic maps, no weapon specifications. Instead, the room showed beautiful images of worlds, recordings of alien cultures, and peaceful historical records. The council had turned what should have been a military planning center into a memorial for what they were losing. This is useless. Commander Kyle Bennett said bluntly after an hour of reviewing the council's defensive data, you have shields that can stop energy weapons, but no counterattack capabilities. You have evacuation procedures, but no tactical doctrine. You track the Devourer movements, but you never try to predict where they will go next. The Velthius coordinator, a crystal being named Harmonix, chimed with distress. We never needed such things. We thought intelligence gathering was enough. If we understood our enemies, we could negotiate with them. The Devourers do not negotiate, Kyle said. They are machines. They have programming, not diplomacy. Every moment you spend trying to understand them is a moment they spend consuming another world. Admiral Henry Cross had arrived from Earth 3 days after the initial meeting, bringing more ships and personnel. Now, he stood at the head of the table, reviewing what little tactical information the council had gathered. His weathered face showed frustration. We need better intelligence, Cross said. Captain Morrison, I want you to take the Valiant and do reconnaissance. Find one of these Devourer fleets. Study them. Figure out how they operate. Do not engage unless you have no choice. Understood, sir, Jake replied. Lisa Grant frowned. Sir, reconnaissance means getting close. If these things are as dangerous as the council says, we might not get a second chance. Then do not need a second chance, Cross said. Get it right the first time. Take whatever equipment you need. Scanner arrays, stealth systems, long-range sensors. I want to know everything about these machines before we commit to a full battle. 2 days later, the ESS Valiant left the council station and headed toward the last known Devourer position. They traveled in near silence, all non-essential systems powered down to reduce their sensor signature. Jake sat in his command chair, watching the displays and trying not to think about what they were flying toward. Contact, Lisa said suddenly. Long-range sensors picking up multiple large objects. Size and composition matched the council's description of Devourer's ships. Distance? Jake asked. 40 million kilometers enclosing. They are heading toward a small mining colony on the edge of council space. Population about 2 million, mostly creche workers and their families. Jake felt his jaw tighten. 2 million people. Men, women, children, all about to die unless someone stopped these machines. How long until the Devourers reach the colony? He asked. At current speed, 6 hours. And how long until we can warn the colony? Lisa checked her display. We can send a message now, but at this distance, there is no way they can evacuate everyone in time. Maybe they save a few 100,000 if they start immediately. Captain, we need to observe these things, study their tactics. That was our mission. If we warn the colony, the Devourers might change their approach, and we will lose valuable intelligence. Commander, are you seriously suggesting we let 2 million people die just so we can watch how the enemy operates? Lisa's voice was sharp. I am suggesting that saving those 2 million might cost us billions later if we go into battle unprepared, Kyle shot back. This is war. Sometimes you make the hard choices. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. Kyle was right from a purely tactical standpoint, but Lisa was right from a human standpoint. This was exactly the kind of decision that kept him awake at night. Send the warning, he said finally. Full broadcast on all council frequencies. Tell them to evacuate immediately. Then take us in closer. We are going to watch these devourers work, but we are not going to let them kill people while we take notes. The Valiant moved closer, using a nearby asteroid field for cover. Through the view screen, Jake got his first look at the enemy. The devourer ships were massive, each one the size of a small moon. They were not elegant like the Council's crystal stations or brutal like human warships. They were purely functional, great spheres of metal covered in mining equipment, processing facilities, and storage containers. They looked like flying factories, which in a way they were. I count 237 ships in the fleet, Lisa reported. They are moving in perfect formation. No wasted movement. Every ship knows exactly where it needs to be. Efficient, Kyle muttered. Like watching insects in a hive. Individual units are not smart, but the collective is intelligent. Jake watched as the fleet approached the mining colony. The colony was trying to evacuate. Small ships launching from the surface carrying as many people as possible. But there were not enough ships. Not nearly enough. The devourers did not slow down. They did not acknowledge the evacuation. They simply arrived at the planet and began their work. Massive drills extended from the devourer ships, each 1 kilometer long. They descended toward the planet's surface like the fingers of a metal god reaching down to crush an ant. The drills hit the ground and began spinning, tearing through rock and soil with terrifying efficiency. They are targeting the mineral deposits, Lisa said, her voice hollow. The colony was built near a large iron deposit. The devourers are mining it. What about the people still down there? Someone on the bridge asked. The devourers do not care, Kyle said quietly. Look at the scan data. They are not avoiding the colony structures. They are drilling right through them. Jake forced himself to watch. Forced himself to see what these machines did to living beings who got in their way. On the tactical display, life signs were disappearing. Thousands at a time. The devourers were not killing them intentionally. They simply did not register organic life as anything important. The people on that colony were no different to the machines than the iron ore they were harvesting. Captain, the colony defense force is trying to fight back, Lisa reported. 3 small patrol ships are attacking the devourer fleet. Jake watched as the tiny ships fired their weapons at the massive devourers. Energy beams splashed harmlessly against the machine's hull. Missiles exploded without leaving a mark. The colony ships were like mosquitoes attacking an elephant. The devourers responded with their mining lasers. Not weapons, just tools, repurposed for defense. The beams cut through the patrol ships like a hot knife through butter. 3 ships, gone in seconds. How long until the planet is completely mined? Jake asked. At current rate, 12 hours, Lisa said. They will strip it down to the core and move on. Nothing will be left, and the evacuation ships that got away. Heading toward the council station. Maybe 500,000 people escaped. The rest? Lisa did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Jake turned to his tactical officer. Did you get everything? Full sensor records of their ships, their formations, their mining operations. Yes, sir. Every detail. Good. Take us back to the council station. The Admiral needs to see this. The journey back took 2 days. 2 days of watching the sensor recordings over and over. 2 days of analyzing every aspect of the Devourer fleet. 2 days of Jake trying not to think about the 1.5 million people they could not save. When they arrived at the council station, Admiral Cross was waiting with Ambassador Claire Hughes and the council leadership. They all gathered in the war room to review the Valiant's findings. Jake played the recordings without comment. Let the images speak for themselves. The emotionless efficiency of the Devourers. The casual destruction of a living world. the complete indifference to organic life. When the recordings ended, the room was silent. "Now you see," the Sill said quietly, his lights dim with grief. "This is what we face. This is why we called you." "How many worlds have they destroyed?" Claire asked. "For homeworlds completely stripped. Dozens of colonies. Each one takes them about 3 days to consume entirely." The Velthius coordinator, Harmonix, chimed sadly. "At first we tried to fight. We sent our fastest ships to ram them. We tried to overload their systems with electromagnetic pulses. We even tried using gravity wells to pull them into stars. Nothing worked. They adapt to every tactic within hours." Kyle had been studying the tactical data with intense focus. Now he looked up. "They adapt, yes, but they follow patterns. Look at their formation. It never changes. Every ship stays in its designated position. When one ship is destroyed, the others do not adjust. They just continue their task." "So they have a weakness," Cross said. "They have programming," Kyle corrected. "Programming can be predicted, exploited. They are not creative. They just follow their code very, very well." "Can we beat them?" Claire asked. Kyle looked at Jake, then at Cross. "Maybe, but it will cost us. These things are massive, well protected, and they have strength in numbers. We will need to hit them with everything we have." "Then that is what we do," Cross said. "Captain Morrison, I want you to develop an attack plan. Use whatever resources you need. Commander Bennett, you are our tactical specialist. Figure out how to kill these machines," Sir Jake said carefully. "There is something else we need to consider. The Council has been fighting defensively, trying to save every world. We cannot do that. If we spread our forces too thin, the Devourers will destroy us piece by piece." The battle plan was simple in theory, but terrifying in execution. Commander Kyle Bennett had spent 3 weeks analyzing every piece of data they had on the Devourers, looking for patterns, weaknesses, anything they could exploit. What he found was both encouraging and deeply troubling. "They are predictable," Kyle explained to the assembled fleet commanders, "but they are also adaptive within their programming limits. Every time they encounter resistance, they update their defensive protocols. The problem is, they do it collectively. Every Devourer ship learns from every other ship's experience." Jake Morrison studied the holographic display showing the enemy fleet movements. 237 Devourer ships were currently moving toward Velthius Prime, the crystal homeworld of the Velthius species. It was one of the most important worlds in Council space, home to 3 billion crystalline beings. "So if we attack them head-on, they will learn our tactics and adapt," Jake said. "Exactly. Which means we need to win fast, before they can process what we are doing." El manipulated the display. "The Devourers operate as a networked intelligence. They communicate constantly, sharing data. If we can disrupt that network, even temporarily, each ship becomes stupid. Still dangerous, but no longer learning from the collective." Admiral Henry Cross leaned forward. "How do we disrupt their network?" "Electromagnetic pulse weapons," Kyle said. "The Council has been using them wrong. They hit individual ships which just isolate themselves briefly, then reconnect. We need to hit the entire fleet at once with a pulse strong enough to fry their communications, but not strong enough to disable their core systems." "Why not disable their core systems?" Ambassador Claire Hughes asked. "Because then they will go into emergency protocols and we lose any chance of predicting their behavior," Kyle explained. "We want them confused, not shut down. Confused enemies make mistakes." Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant looked skeptical. "This assumes we can get close enough to hit them with an EMP that large. They will see us coming." "Not if they think we are running away," Jake said, understanding Kyle's plan suddenly. "We bait them. Make them chase us into the perfect position." Kyle nodded with a grim smile. "The Devourers have learned that Council ships always retreat. They expect prey behavior. So we give them prey behavior, right up until we do not." The plan was approved despite many Council members expressing doubt. They had never fought a coordinated battle before. The concept of bait and ambush was foreign to species that had evolved past, by dare-to-prey dynamics. But humans understood it perfectly. It was written, into their DNA. The trap was set near Velthius Prime. In a region of space filled with asteroid fields and electromagnetic interference from a nearby pulsar, the Devourers would see it as an obstacle, something that slowed their mining operations. What they would not see was the entire human fleet waiting in the asteroid shadows. Weapons cold, systems on minimal power. Jake stood on the bridge of the ESS Valiant, watching the chronometer count down. The Bait Fleet, 30 council ships with minimal crews, was making its final approach. They were broadcasting distress signals, pretending to be the last defense of Velthius Prime. Enemy fleet detected, Lisa reported. 237 ships, moving in standard formation. They're taking the bait. Jake felt his heart rate increase. This was it. The moment everything changed, he keyed the fleet-wide channel. All ships, maintain radio silence. Do not power up weapons until the signal. Trust the plan. Trust your training. He paused. And remember why we are here. Those are not just alien allies out there. They are people. They are counting on us. The Devourers entered the asteroid field, their massive forms moving with mechanical precision. The Council Bait Fleet retreated deeper into the field, drawing the enemy exactly where the humans needed them. They are almost in position, Kyle said, watching the tactical display with intense focus. Another 2 minutes. Jake watched the Devourer fleet spread out slightly, adapting their formation to navigate the asteroids. They were still networked, still sharing data, still learning, but they were also confident. They had won every battle for 6 years. They had no reason to expect this to be different. Oh. All ships are in position, Lisa confirmed. We have firing solutions on every enemy vessel. Signal the EMP drones, Jake ordered, hidden throughout the asteroid field. Hundreds of small drones activated simultaneously. Each one was packed with electromagnetic pulse generators, charged to maximum capacity. The Council had built them based on human specifications. Desperate weapons for a desperate battle. The drones detonated all at once. The electromagnetic pulse washed over the Devourer fleet like an invisible wave. For 3 seconds, every communication system on every Devourer ship went completely dead. 3 seconds of total network silence. It was enough. All ships fire at will. Admiral Cross's voice boomed across the fleet channel. The human warships erupted from the asteroid field, inked like ancient sea monsters rising from the deep. Railguns fired, sending tungsten rounds at relativistic speeds. Missile tubes opened, releasing clouds of antimatter warheads. Energy weapons lanced through space. All focused on the isolated Devourer ships, the ESS Valiant shook as its main railgun fired again and again. Jake gripped his command chair, watching the tactical display fill with impact markers. Direct hit on Target 7, Lisa called out. Hull breach detected. Target 8 is breaking apart. Target 12 is venting atmosphere. Wait, they do not have atmosphere. Venting processed materials. The Devourers tried to respond, their mining lasers swinging around to target the human ships. But without their network, each ship was acting independently, without coordination. They were not stupid, but they were no longer a unified intelligence. Evasive pattern Delta, Jake ordered. The Valiant twisted through space, dodging return fire with practiced ease. Human pilots had trained for this their entire careers. They had run simulations, practiced maneuvers, learned from thousands of years of aerial and naval combat. The Devourers had never needed to dodge before Commander Kyle Bennett's ship. The ESS Defender led a flanking attack that caught 20 Devourer ships by surprise. His tactical genius showed as he used the asteroids themselves as weapons. Using precise calculations to knock rocks into the Devourer's path while they were distracted. Their network is coming back online, Lisa warned. Communication is being re-established between ships. How long do we have? Jake asked. Maybe 5 minutes before they are fully coordinated again. Then we make these 5 minutes count. All ships target their communication arrays. Those dome structures on their upper hulls, take them out. The human fleet adjusted their fire. If the Devourers wanted to rebuild their network, the humans would just keep tearing it down. But the machines were learning. Even isolated, they were adapting. Some Devourers ships began grouping together, overlapping their shields. Others changed their position to protect their communication arrays. "They are getting smarter," Kyle observed from his ship. "We need to change tactics," agreed Admiral Cross said. "All ships pattern Gamma. Hit them from multiple angles. Do not let them predict our movements." The battle became chaos. Ships weaving between asteroids, weapons fire crossing in every direction, explosions blooming in the silent void. Jake had studied naval battles from Earth's history, but nothing compared to the three-dimensional complexity of space combat. "Sir, we have casualties," Lisa reported grimly. The ESS Ranger took a direct hit. Hull breach on decks 4 through 7. They are reporting 30 dead, 60 wounded. Out. Jake felt the weight of those numbers. 30 people dead. 30 families back on Earth who would get the worst news of their lives. This was the cost of war that the Council had never experienced. "Tell the Ranger to fall back and make repairs," he ordered. "Redirect the ESS Phoenix to cover their position." The battle raged for 6 hours. 6 hours of constant combat, of ships dodging and firing, of the Devourers slowly being overwhelmed by tactics they had never encountered. The human fleet lost 3 ships completely. 5 more were heavily damaged. Over 2,000 personnel were dead or wounded, but the Devourers lost worse. Of the 237 ships that entered the asteroid field, only 43 remained functional. The rest were destroyed or too damaged to continue fighting. "Enemy fleet is retreating," Lisa reported, exhaustion clear in her voice. "They are breaking off and heading out of the system." Jake wanted to pursue, to finish them off. But he looked at the casualty reports, at the damaged ships limping back to formation, at his own crew who had been at battle stations for 6 straight hours. "Let them go," Admiral Cross ordered, making the decision for all of them. "We won this battle. That is enough for today." The human and Council fleets regrouped near Velthus Prime. The crystalline world was safe, its 3 billion inhabitants spared from the Devourers, but the victory felt hollow to Jake. As he walked through the medical bay of the Valiant, rows of injured crew members filled the beds. Burns from energy weapon near misses. Broken bones from sudden maneuvers. Radiation sickness from damaged shielding. One young ensign, barely 20 years old, had lost both legs when an explosion tore through his station. "Will he live?" Jake asked the doctor. "Yes. We can regrow the legs eventually, but he will never serve on a ship again. The trauma is too severe." The war continued for 8 more months after the victory at Velthus Prime. Each battle was harder than the last. The Devourers learned from every encounter, adapted their tactics, reinforced their weaknesses. What started as a technological war became a race between human creativity and machine evolution. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the command center of the Council station, watching the strategic map that showed the entire conflict. Red markers indicated Devourer positions. Blue markers showed human and Council forces. The map had more red than blue, but the red was retreating, being pushed back system by system. "We are winning," High Coordinator Thessel said, his lights pulsing with cautious hope. 3 months ago, the Devourers controlled 40% of Council space. Now they control less than 15%. "We are surviving," Jake corrected. "Winning would mean the Devourers are gone." "They are not gone. They are just being pushed back to their central hub." Admiral Henry Cross nodded in agreement. "The captain is right. Every battle costs us ships and lives. We have lost 17 vessels now. The Devourers can replace their losses by building more ships. We cannot replace trained crews so easily." Ambassador Claire Hughes reviewed the casualty reports on her datapad. The numbers made her stomach turn. 4,300 human personnel dead. Another 2,000 permanently disabled. Countless Council members killed when defensive positions failed. The price of this war was written in blood and grief. "We need to end this," she said. "Not just push them back. Actually end it. Find their source and destroy it permanently." Commander Kyle Bennett had been working on exactly that problem. He had spent months analyzing Devourers' ship movements, tracking their supply lines, mapping their logistics. Machine intelligence or not, They needed resources. They needed somewhere to process materials and build new ships. "I found it," Kyle announced, pulling up new data on the main display. "The Devourer Central Hub. It is located in the Tertius system, built around a dying red giant star. The star's energy output is enormous. They are using it to power their entire manufacturing operation." The display showed a massive structure, easily 100 times larger than any human or council station. It orbited the red giant like a metal moon, covered in construction bays, processing facilities, and what looked like thousands of partially built ships. "How did we not find this before?" Lisa Grant asked. "It is hidden in plain sight," Kyle explained. "The star puts out so much radiation that normal sensors cannot penetrate it. I only found it by tracking the Devourers faster than light signatures. Every ship that escapes our battles goes back to this location." Jake studied the hub carefully. It was enormous, well-defended, and probably contained millions of Devourer units. Attacking it would be suicide with their current forces. "We cannot assault that directly," he said. "Even with our entire fleet, we would be overwhelmed," agreed, Cross said. "But if we do not destroy it, the Devourers will just keep building more ships. Eventually, they will overwhelm us through pure numbers." The room fell silent as everyone grappled with the impossible problem. They needed to destroy the hub to end the war, but they could not destroy the hub without losing everything. "What if we do not attack it directly?" Lisa suggested quietly. "What if we attack the star instead?" Everyone turned to look at her. "Explain," Cross said. Lisa brought up new data on the display. "The red giant is dying but stable. It has maybe another 1,000,000 years before it goes supernova naturally. But stars like this are delicate. If we destabilize it, trigger a premature collapse, the resulting explosion would destroy everything in the system, including the hub," Kyle said, catching on immediately. "But how do we destabilize a star?" "We do not have weapons that powerful." "We do not need weapons," Lisa said. "We need physics. If we can dump enough heavy elements into the star's core, it will disrupt the fusion process. The star will collapse, then explode. It is called a forced supernova." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. They were talking about destroying a star. Humanity had reached for the heavens, and now they were discussing how to kill a sun. "How much material would we need?" Claire asked. "A lot," Lisa admitted. "Several Earth masses worth of heavy metals, iron, nickel, uranium. Basically everything the Devourers have been collecting." Kyle started running calculations on his console. "The Devourers have mining ships. Huge ones filled with processed materials waiting to be used for construction. If we could hijack several of those ships and crash them into the star, we might have enough mass." "That is insane," Vezel said, his lights flickering with distress. "You are talking about destroying an entire solar system." "Empty solar system," Jake pointed out. "According to our scans, there are no planets left. The Devourers consumed them all decades ago. The only thing in that system is the star and the hub. It is still genocide," another council member said. "The Devourers are alive, in their own way. Destroying them all is mass murder." Claire stood up, her expression hard. "The Devourers have killed billions of your people. They have consumed 4 of your homeworlds. They are machines, yes, but they are machines programmed to destroy organic life. This is not murder. This is survival." The debate raged for hours. The council had never faced a decision like this. They were a peaceful civilization being asked to approve the complete annihilation of an enemy. Some council members refused outright. Others reluctantly agreed. In the end, the vote was close, but it passed. The mission was approved. Planning the operation took 3 weeks. They needed to capture Devourer mining ships without the enemy realizing what was happening. They needed to fill those ships with additional materials. They needed to calculate the exact trajectory to hit the star's core. And they needed to do all of this while continuing to fight the ongoing war. Jake volunteered to lead the assault team that would capture the mining ships. It was dangerous work, boarding enemy vessels that might have defensive systems or self-destruct protocols. But someone had to do it. The S-Valiant, along with 6 other human ships, intercepted a Devourer mining convoy 3 systems away from the central hub. The convoy consisted of 12 massive mining ships, each one carrying millions of tons of processed materials. "Remember, we need those ships intact," Jake told his boarding teams. "Disable their navigation, override their controls, but do not damage the cargo holds." The attack was swift and precise. Human Marines stormed through the mining ships, fighting automated defense drones, dodging security lasers, racing against time. The Devourers had not expected anyone to want their mining ships, so the defenses were lighter than usual. Within 4 hours, they had captured 8 mining ships. It would have to be enough. Commander Kyle Bennett took command of the captured vessels, personally flying the lead ship. He had calculated the trajectories down to the millimeter. 8 ships, flying in formation, aimed directly at the Red Giant's core. The fleet approached the Tertia system expecting heavy resistance. They got it. Hundreds of Devourer ships swarmed out from the hub, moving to intercept the human fleet. "All ships engage the enemy," Admiral Cross ordered. "Our job is to keep them busy. Kyle, you get those mining ships to the star, no matter what." The battle that followed was the largest of the entire war. The human fleet fought desperately, drawing the Devourers away from Kyle's convoy. Ships exploded on both sides. The space between the star and the hub became a graveyard of burning metal. Jake watched from the Valiant's bridge as Kyle's convoy pushed through the fighting, taking hits but continuing forward. 2 of the mining ships were destroyed, then a third, but the remaining 5 kept going, their automated systems locked on course. "They're almost there," Lisa reported. 30 seconds to impact." The Devourer hub suddenly seemed to realize what was happening. Every ship near the convoy broke off their attacks on the human fleet and converged on Kyle's position. "Kyle, you have incoming." Jake shouted into the com. 20 ships closing fast. "I see them," Kyle's voice came back, calm despite the chaos. "I am staying with the convoy until impact." "Make sure this counts, Kyle." "Negative," Jake said. "Set the autopilot and get to an escape pod." The autopilot could fail. "I am not risking the mission." There was a pause. "Jake, it has been an honor serving with you." "Kyle, do not do this." The first mining ship hit the Red Giant's photosphere. Then the second, the third and fourth followed seconds later. The fifth ship, the one Kyle was piloting, was hit by Devourer fire just before impact. It broke apart, spilling its cargo of heavy metals directly into the star. For a moment, nothing happened. The star continued burning. The Devourers continued attacking. The battle raged on. Then the star flickered. "All ships, emergency retreat," Cross ordered. "Get out of the system now." The human fleet turned and ran, their faster-than-light drives activating the moment they cleared the gravity well. Behind them, the Red Giant began to collapse. Jake watched on the long-range sensors as the star compressed, its outer layers falling inward. The Devourer hub tried to evacuate, ships fleeing in every direction. But they were too slow. The star collapsed to a point, and then exploded. The shockwave expanded at near light speed. A wall of superheated plasma and radiation that consumed everything in its path. The Devourer hub vanished in an instant. The thousands of partially built ships,